So we're gonna try and review the entire Strixhaven right now. Now, when I say review, I don't mean like talking about limited. I'm gonna focus almost exclusively on constructed. Um, because that's my jam. I'm gonna let other people figure out the limited format. I enjoy limited. I just don't play it much, but I am gonna play this format, of course. And but I'm gonna focus on constructed for this, which means we're gonna skip over a lot of commons and uncommons and rares, just saying this card is irrelevant. We can just ignore it. And I'm gonna be focused on standard and pioneer, maybe a bit of modern, but these are like the formats I feel confident assessing. While legacy, I don't know nearly well enough, and vintage tends to be a bit weird. If I have a vintage thought, I'll definitely share it, but it's not a vintage focused review. I have no idea what's up with Popper as well, so that's not on the menu. Um, the Super Today starts. I don't know when it starts. I think it's the Super Today starts in 15 hours. So for you, that's gonna be like 6, I think, right? For me, it's like 1 a.m. of tomorrow, so I'm not gonna play that. Anyway, reviewing the set and then brewing some decks, and let's just get into it. Okay, so academic probation is a lesson, which makes assessing this even more difficult because we're gonna have to see what learn cards we have. You know what? Before we do that, that's gonna be a recurring theme. So let's actually do this. Learn cards from the set of Strixhaven. Let's see what learn cards we have. Didn't bother looking up Citizen Pioneer. What's up, Verdix? Okay. Divide by 0. Okay. So we have 21 learn cards, which are gonna be like the enablers for the lessons. And that's important because I think the lessons playability is highly dependent on if you have playable learn cards for constructed. And where do those fit? So this target your blocks this turn. You may have it gain reach. That's a super funny spell, first of all. Because it lets you like kill a blocker with a flyer, even if they don't have reach, which is super nice. And learn. Um, and it's an instant, which is really interesting for this. Which is really interesting on a learn card because it makes it a lot more versatile, but also this targets a creature. Yeah, agreed, King. I don't think there's gonna be, but we're gonna find out. So, um, so we were talking about this. This has a target. It's probably not gonna see play. -4 -0 is not good enough to see play in constructed. Gain 4 life is like weird in that I can see it being played versus burn in sideboards, but then why are you sideboarding a learn card? Um, that's gonna be a bit. I don't think that's gonna be played. Yeah, King. I think mostly we are looking at these mechanics impacting standard post rotation. So I don't think that's gonna be extremely relevant right now because Eldraine is just a messed up set. Has it Future? I guess we're gonna find out now together. Divide by 0. So this is what I was looking for. This is a playable learn card, I think. Return target spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand and learn. So this is like a relevant effect that affects both the stack and the board that has learn. So I think this can actually be played. Again, I think it's a bit sketchy because the rate is not good on this. Obviously, if this was like 2 mana, this would be much better. But still, this is interesting. It's bad remand, yes, but having the ability to choose what you learn is super nice. And also, remand is a really good card, which you would love to have access to in standard sometimes. So I could see this seeing play. Divide by 0 is interesting, as is Dreamstrix. So this is like the illusion text, 3 to flyer. I thought this had flash for some reason, but this doesn't have flash. So when this becomes a target of a spell, sacrifice it, and when it dies, you learn. Again, not being able to control the timing on the learn is kind of sketchy in my opinion. I mean, it makes it worse. Yeah, I agree. The Riemann is probably looking like one of the best learn cards. So I don't think this card is great. I think if you're running this, you want the buddy, like the flying buddy, and then the learn is just like upside on top of that. That's a pump spell, which is too expensive to see play, I think. Which is a 1/1 for 1, but only when it dies you learn. But I think as a 1/1 for 1, you can actually play this in decks that have sacrifice effects like Woe Strider, or you can use it to chump block early, or try and pressure them, or like equip this or something. So maybe Witch sees play. We're gonna have to, you know what? Let's keep. Just a second. Let's keep up a list of IDs we have. So for now, like, the fact that the token theme is pretty big here means that we might get some cards that we might want to see a deck that's like token focused. So we're gonna try and go for like Notepad. So next sacrifice scenery. I'm gonna write down some thoughts I have while we're looking at this. Field Trip. Look for a forest, put it into play, tapped, and then shuffle. So I actually think Field Trip is a super relevant card. Because again, this is kind of like a cultivate, but instead of getting the second land, you get to learn. And getting to learn, if you have good targets for this, means you get to like tutor your 4-drop or 5-drop, and then put it into your hand, and then make sure you have a follow-up play for this, which looks really nice. Obviously, it's going to be underpowered because lessons are underpowered, but that's a really good card to keep in mind. I really like this one. I think this makes learn much more playable in green. When a creature... Just a second, chat. So, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 and gains haste, learn. I don't think that's gonna see play unless you have some weird combo with this. Yeah, King, I'll touch on that in a second. 5/4/4/4, which learns on ETB. Again, I think this, like, the base value of this is fine. I do think you're gonna need some pretty good payoffs for this to actually be good. That's not gonna be played unless you're playing like Dreadhorde Arcanist, I guess. Hunt for specimens, again, as with Witch. I think this feels mostly the same role of this, of Witch. Because this is just like get a valuable body on board and learn, which is nice. Obviously, you learn on playing this, so the timing is nicer on this, but costing more can be super difficult for these decks because you usually don't want to spend 2 mana on one body, which doesn't have a really relevant ability. Okay, this is a sorcery. I was getting excited. But no, this is pretty medium. Being a sorcery probably relegates this to not playable. Although it's close. I mean, 3 damage to any target. I don't think that's gonna be good enough. The wall here is super nice. This could actually be a sideboard card, but again, what are your sideboard cards doing with Learn? I'm not sure again. We're gonna have to look at the lessons, but it's interesting. I mean, the rate here is not bad. You just don't really want it a lot of the time. And I guess Learn also just lets you, like, rummage, so it's not the worst. Poet's Squeal, I love. I think that's one of the most interesting designs and flavorful designs of the set. I mean, the equipment rate is not the worst. It's super close to Shadow Spear, and getting to rummage or get a card from, like, draw a card is really nice on this. So I think this could see play. I think it's worse and it's better, Future, because the fact that you get a specific card while underpowered can be super good. But again, we're gonna have to see the lessons. So I think a lot hinges on like the lessons. Maybe we just look for the lessons after this, and then we rate them, and then we look at the rest of the set. Again, unless a blue deck. So this is nice because this means a blue deck gets to play lessons for pretty much free because divination instant speed is not the worst. But I think again, this just highly depends on, do you have a way? Do you have a lesson card you actually really want? So that's just nice. I mean, it means blue has a really nice base effect, but I don't think that's amazing. Professor is great. Like 2-1 for 2 that draws your card when it comes into play is good. Ramaging is a bit worse, but the fact that this is always going to have an effect is really nice. Being core cleric kind of sucks because I guess this goes for party synergies, but no human synergies and no wizard synergies. Still, good card. White has good enablers. Phoenix is not a good card, but that's not relevant. This is 6 mana. This is not going to see play. Sparring Regimen I like a lot. I think I talked about it before. I think it's close enough to... Like, I think the effect is close enough, so if you can get value off of the learn, I really like the effect. This card is really interesting. It has to fight with Maul of the Skyclaves, which is pretty much just the better card. But still interesting, maybe... Yeah, I don't know, Maul probably relegates this to not being playable, but this card is really good. And tap to dark creatures, that's not a relevant card. So, we have, let's do it this way. So, deck IDs. We also have blue-red dragons coming up. And then, relevant learn cards. So I'm gonna put like the biggest ones here. It's like divide by 0 and field trip. I think Poet's Quill. I think Professor. Symbology, not symbiology. It's not biology. And Sparring Regimen. Field Trip. Field Trip is look your search. I guess it's only for a forest card. I guess forest card is actually super good for this because you can get triumphs. So this is basically like Rampant Go for 3 that learns. Which, again, as I said, I think the base on this is good enough that this can definitely see play. I guess we should put Pop Quiz as well here. Because I think Pop Quiz is super close to this, and I think I'm pretty high on this. But getting triumphs is really nice. So, these are the learn cards. Should we go over the lessons? It's like type lesson. Is that how it works? Okay, 20 lesson cards. Let's go over them for a second, okay? Yeah, I think that's gonna be the biggest problem. I think they went super safe on these. Which makes sense. I mean, learn if it could get you real cards could be a super good mechanic. But the cards need to be narrow enough so this is not super good. Okay, so choose a non-land card name. Opponents can cast this name until your next turn and choose target non-land permanent. It can't attack, block, or activate abilities. I mean... So first of all, this is white, and we saw white has at least 2 good learn cards. I think this can actually be nice. Like, the play pattern I'm thinking of is white aggro versus control. And you get this, and then you stop a crucial, like, ultimatum or Shudder's Verdict preemptively. But obviously, the fact that you need to choose a card preemptively means you have to get the card right, which is kind of meh. Also, this doesn't really do anything versus instants. But I think academic probation is like relevant. Not a reason to play Learn, but if you're already playing Learn, I can definitely see playing this. This card is nice. Basic Conjuration. I think this actually goes pretty nicely with Field Trip because getting like a once upon a time effect for creatures is not the worst. Gaining life means the tempo loss from this is not as bad as it might have been. So I think this also is a nice card. Confront, I think, is only relevant if you are really playing a walkers in your deck. Cardfish. What? Fish Kraken? What the hell? Okay. Containment Breach is just very good, I think. This is exactly the type of card you want in Lesson. It has a relevant ability that you don't want in the main deck. So, like Disenchant for 3 mana. That's good. This is not a good card. Search out for basic, put it into your hand and shuffle. You gain 2 life. This is interesting. The reason this is interesting is because this is like universal fixing, right? Again, the problem with this is that we've like what learn card goes with this? You ideally want this pretty early. I guess you don't actually want this early. Maybe getting this late is fine because this can be. I can see this seeing play in like 4-color decks, where like control decks where you just want to hit your colors by turn like 6 or 7, and then getting this into your hand is really nice. Also, gaining life is nice. Not excited about this, but this is an interesting tool. Getting counters is not worth it. Putting a token, well, that's actually fine. Hey Adam, what's up? Verdix is not a fish. Imagine that. This card is nice because it scales. So, I think if you're already running, like, so this goes really nicely in the green deck if you're actually playing Field Trip. Because just having the option of fetching this up late and putting a big creature into play can be relevant. So Fractal Summoning, I think green has a lot of tools so far, which I like a lot. Illuminating History is interesting because this is not a bad rate. Getting a 3/2 that lets you discard your hand and redraw is fine. Again, I'm just not excited about this. And red doesn't really have a good learn card. So maybe this goes with the white cards. I talked about both Inkling Summoning and Pet Summoning in the last stream. Basically, I think that these cards are really nice just because in an aggro deck, especially if you're playing Professor of Symbology, then being able to go Professor into a guaranteed 3-drop is nice. And this might go into the Black Sacrifice deck, so that's a cool one. So I like these relatively, like, again, I think these are free rolls sometimes that you want to play in your deck if you are already playing Learn for other cards. I can also see just playing a sideboard that, like, in a white aggressive deck, just playing all Professors of Symbology and then 2 of these in the sideboard, and I think that's enough. Introduction to Annihilation is really good. I actually like it a lot because some decks really want the ability to exile any permanent. Even if it's 4 or 5 mana. I'm thinking mostly aggressive decks that want answers to like super difficult permanents. So I don't hate that this exists. I think this is a really nice card to have in like aggressive mid-range decks. Skytooth and Draw card is a powerful effect too. But I don't think any deck is gonna play this for 3 mana. I guess I should keep this in mind because for Phoenix decks in Pioneer, Phoenix and Drake decks, sometimes all you really want is another instant or sorcery. So maybe if you are already playing, well, Divide by 0, then you want one of these just so you can chain spells. But yeah, Crossbog. Is the emote working for you? Because it doesn't show it to me here. I need to fix that. Anyway, Introduction to Prophecy is nice. Again, not amazing, a role player. It's a sideboard card though that requires mainboard cards. I agree. So as I said, I'm gonna touch on that in a second. Yeah, really in a second. Mascot Exhibition just puts a bunch of tokens. I mean, it's a powerful 7 mana card. I think if you're playing the green ramp deck with Field Trip, I think that's a nice card to have in the sideboard because it's like, well, if you want something to spend mana on, this gives you, what, like 5, 9 power and 7 toughness across 3 creatures? This is just nice at stabilizing the board. Until end of turn, target non-permanent ability is turned into a frog. Or a blue octopus creature with power and toughness. 4/4, but it's a sorcery. I don't think that's gonna be relevant. Yeah, okay, yeah. And I think it's a really big problem. And as I said, we're gonna touch on this in like really a second. Oh, that's not okay. Necrotic Fumes is really good. The problem is this exile creatures you control. But exile any creature or planeswalker for 3, that's really high payoff for black learn cards. I mean, if you're looking at Poet's Quill and Eyewitch, I think that's what they're fetching most of the time. Like either the Fumes or the Summoning. It's sorcery speed, but 3 mana exile any target is a really powerful effect. I mean, look at Vraska's Contempt. I wish Vraska's Contempt was 3 mana. Obviously sorcery, problem, yeah. Yep, I agree. But again, I'm looking at this with like in a sacrifice deck where you can exile like a token. And that makes it much better, especially with Pest Summoning as an alternative, like as another target where you can get this and then at some point get this and then you just got 2 cards that just give you a free answer to anything. I think, again, if Lesson sees play, that's probably one of the reasons it sees play. We talked about Summoning. Again, I think Reduced to Memory is really similar to Necrotic Fumes in the sense that, and to Introduction to Annihilation, a lot of decks can ignore a 3/2 pretty easily, especially if you get rid of like a big walker or a big permanent. So I like this one a lot. I think this is the worst of the 3 like of Summoning Pest, of the Summoning. So Inkling, Pest, and Spirit. I think the Spirit one is the worst. I think 3/2 is worse than 2 creatures and worse than a flying creature. But again, possible playable card if red specifically wants a learn. Again, this is so underpowered though. Why can't this be 2 damage to any target? But Destroying Artifacts is really nice from the sideboard, especially when Standard has Embercleave in the Great Henge. Being a sorcery means this doesn't really interact well with Embercleave, which super sucks. So a bit underpowered, but relevant card, in my opinion. And then the Teachings is a really interesting one. So I think if Rogues have a card they want to play, this could be super good. Also Spirits in Pioneer. Although, looking at the cards we have, I don't think any of those. Maybe Rogues can play like Divide by Zeros, but that doesn't seem really relevant. Maybe Poet's Quill. Yeah, I think I guess all of them are sorceries. That's a good point. I just keep repeating, this is sorcery, this is worse. Yeah, all of them are sorceries. That's a good point. You know what? I don't actually think I like this card. The more I think about it, I mean, the floor of this is a divination, but it's not even an unconditional divination. So I don't think I like the Teachings. So, okay. As you said, the big problem for Constructed with Lessons is that they take sideboard slots, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's garbage, but this set is definitely much more tamed than other sets we've seen recently. So yeah, I think they just went with like much safer route, which makes sense after Standard got broken like 4 times in the past 2 years. It makes it more interesting for us, especially post-rotation, because I think post-rotation, this set is going to be much more relevant. So lessons need your sideboard slots. So how do I think you're actually going to use the lessons? I think you're going to be playing lessons in the following way. I think you're going to be playing... Yo, Rock Eyes, what's up? Welcome to the Dread Horde. And Andre, yeah, no busted Civic card. Words to be bad cards, yeah. Words to be bad cards are kind of rough. I mean, the set has tons of text. Okay, so you need to devote sideboard slots. Now, I think the most common way to do it is play like somewhere between 4 to 6 learn cards in your main deck, and then 2 lessons in the sideboard, which just make those cards like have high, like the first 2 copies of those cards much better. Imagine, again, as we said, Professor Symbology. If it's a 2-1 that draws you a spell when it comes into play, it's really, really good. The fact that this spell is medium make it much worse, of course, but still a valuable card in some decks. Especially, again, when I think the downside of just getting Inkling Summoning is not that rough. Just making sure you have a 3-drop is nice. So I think that's one way to play. Then the other way to play learn cards is just in a deck that you wants to get the ramage effect, and then has a couple of targets in the sideboard for specific slots. So yeah, well, it's not divination, Rabe. It's colorless preordain for 3 mana. So yeah, wait, are you talking about this? Are you talking about something different? Anyway, so I think that's the way to play the... So I said, either get 2-3 lesson cards in your sideboard and have a good, good ways to get it when you need them, or use the rummage. So that's why I think the black cards are the most promising ones. Black and green. So green gets to play an impulse effect, an disenchant effect, a big creature, and has field trip to help it enable those cards, which I think is a pretty low price to pay in the main deck. And Mascot Exhibition is also... Oh, this is a mythic. Interesting. And Mascot Exhibition is also super nice as like a way to have a big effect in your sideboard that you can just tutor up. So I think green is really nice. And then I think black can also utilize both Inkling and Pest Summoning, Necrotic Fumes, and Introduction to Annihilation as a way to resolve difficult permanents in like the sacrifice decks. So these are my picks for maybe playable black lesson cards. Zero Vision is basically ancestral. Yeah, exactly. How are you doing, Gabe? you killed me yesterday with the Gasmon theme request. Some nuts back cards with Innistrad. I mean, Innistrad should have a bunch of vampires, right? Which is a good start. So let's take a look at this. I think basically it's like basic conjuration, containment, breach, mascot exhibition is one batch of relevant cards, and then it's like necrotic fumes, pest summoning, and then Inkling summoning. Reduced to memory is interesting. Reduced to memory, and I'm missing something. White. I am not. Oh, I guess academic probation is fine. And then we have. I think, Introduction to Annihilation, which is really interesting. Alright. I mean, I'm just looking at vampires for Pioneer, really. Alright, So we looked at these cards, that's nice. Let's go ahead and get to the actual set. So we talked about Academic Probation. This is a 1/4/2. This is... Okay, Combo Trick that gives Hexproof is nice, but we have better cards in green right now, so I don't think this is really relevant for Constructed. Being 2 mana is also just a bit much. I mean, yeah, it's not even me, it's Feudor pointed them out, I think, pointed it out. So, yeah, them being sorceries is kind of sus, I agree. It's kind of sad. But they were trying not to push them too hard, which, again, makes sense. Okay, and now we're talking. This card is super interesting. I think for 2 reasons. One is that we were looking for like a 3rd prowess creature for 1 mana for a long time. Prowess decks tend to have problem with threat density, and this really helps. Although this is, I think, significantly worse than a Soulscar Mage or a Sweet Spear. A Sorcerer Mage or a Sweet Spear, because not having power means you have to play spells for this to attack relevantly, and that is a big downside. But also you can probably combo with Magecraft to get like a bunch of triggers with Ground Rift or something. Yeah, this card is really good. I think one of the biggest reasons that this is good is it's another wizard for Pioneer Burn. Yo, Bolander with the raid. What's up, everyone? Welcome, welcome. We're doing a Strixhaven review, which is gonna be interesting because this set has a lot of text and not very powerful cards. So it's gonna be interesting. How did your stream go, Bolander? I watched a bit, as you know, but you played Filthy Tron, so I couldn't stick around. Anyway, yeah, this definitely has the potential to be broken. I think this is really good for like Pioneer Wizards, Pioneer Burn. Oh, 5-0-3. Oh, you finished the 2nd league. Nice. Yeah, the trophy is definitely Pog, and 3-2 is just bread and butter, so... I mean, isn't it super late for you? Isn't it like 2 a.m. or something? We do have some degens hanging around today. So, I was saying, Wizard, important. Prowess, nice. Combos with cards like Ground Rift, super cool. I like this card. Pretty sure it's gonna see constructed play. Pretty sure it's gonna stay relevant for a while. But I am a bit lower on this than most people, I think, because being an 0-1 is much worse than being a 1-2. So that's my verdict on this card. Yeah, Flusterstorm also legal. Clever Luminator Pog. Hey, Otter, what's up? So, white. Let me... I'm gonna keep a list of like cards we deem relevant for constructed. This is not relevant. This is... I thought this cost 2 and I was like, oh, this is a good card. But then it was like, no. Yeah, this card, I think it's pretty good. I think just giving threat density to prowess is gonna make this relevant, and being a wizard for Pioneer is gonna make this relevant. This card is not playable. This card is weird. 4 mana for destroy all non-permanents is nice, especially if you don't care about them bouncing their cards into their hand back, but I don't think it's gonna be the case usually. Because when you want this, you want to get rid of like their cheap creatures and their more expensive creatures, and if your opponent can just... Yeah, if your opponent just gets double Swift Steer back into their hand, this doesn't do anything. Where this could be relevant... No, I don't think this is relevant. I don't think this card is gonna see play. It's weird. I don't think it's gonna see play. This card neither. This is not a constructed card. I mean, there's just a better version of this in Bear, so this is not gonna see play. Standard play? I don't even think this is gonna see standard play, honestly. Returning permanents to hand is really bad. Maybe after rotation, but even right now, like, you play this versus green decks, and it's like, yeah, I'll get my Innkeeper and Bowcrusher back to hand. It's like, okay. Oh, yeah, I mean, Other, just play Ground Rift and make them not block as well, right? That's the combo. Okay, this is Paulo Vitor Damarosa's invitational card, basically. So, no, because Shattering Spree has all the targets in the world, right? doesn't hit flyers. But like Shattering Spree doesn't either. I don't think he designed this card, by the way, but this is an interesting one. So let me reread this. 3/1 flying for 3 human. Also, like this is a good base for. There's a good base for this card. When it comes into play, look at our opponent's hand. You may exile an unnamed card from it. For as long as it's exiled, the owner may pay it, and it costs 2 more to cast. So this basically comes into play, gives you the info about their hand, and then make the card cost 2 more. So that's interesting. I mean, just playing this and hitting something like Ultimatum or like a mass removal spell, or even a Collected Company is really good. I don't think it's that bad, but I think it's definitely medium, because I think it's more like this costing 3 is the issue here. As a 2/1 flyer for 2, this would be much better than a 3/1 flyer for 3. Also not hitting lens, but that makes sense. I don't know. It's a weird card to evaluate because this ability is good and is bad at the same time. Yeah, like I wish Wasteland Strangler was relevant, but yeah. I don't know about this card. I mean, I think this is good enough for standards. Maybe Pioneer. I don't think this is a modern card. Oh, wow. The flavor text is just Paulo Vitor Rosa, World Champion number 26. That's pretty sweet. I mean, I'm gonna put this on the list of, like, relevant cards. But I don't think it's gonna see a lot of play. Yeah, this is an interesting effect. Like, the effect is unique enough that I think that if you can blink this, like, Soul Herder probably makes this much better. Obviously, if it had flesh, this would be better. Vial makes this better because it gives it flesh. So I think the card is relevant. I'm not very high on it. Also, the art is pretty pog. Expel is not good. This is not good. Okay, Leonine Lightscriber. Oh, it does? Okay. I mean, Fervent Champion just has so much text. I don't actually know if it has flavor text. Yeah, also for Ephemerate Piles, just being able to like tax a bunch of their spells is really nice. Learning Lightscribe is like much closer. I'm much higher on this than I am on the 1-drop, because pumping all of the creatures is really nice. And this just being a 2/2/4/2 means you can just attack with this and time your. So a really important play pattern for prowess is you attack with your prowess creatures before playing spells, so your opponent doesn't know how to block, and if they don't block, you just get free damage, and this allows you to play into the same pattern. Yeah, that's a good point, Otter. Elite Spellbinder dying to Lava Darts makes it much worse. Again, I think this is more Pioneer. I think this is more Pioneer standards card than it is a modern card. Also, I think this card could see play in Vintage, just because the bar for 3-drops is actually lower because you have fast mana. It's probably just worse than Archon most of the time, but it could see play in Vintage if you want this specific effect. Yeah, we did talk about the Learn cards. If you remind me later, I can talk about them again for a bit, but we are recording this for YouTube, so I don't want to repeat everything over and over again. So, Leonin Lightscribe I like a lot. I think this card is going to be very good in Modern and Pioneer, maybe. And I don't think this is going to be great in Standard, but it could be really good. I mean, pumping all of the creatures is super strong. I think this card that's the best white card we've seen so far, I think. So, Leonin Lightscribe. So, Mavinda, I mean, we talked about it in another stream. I just don't see how this card is good. I don't really get it. Also, this has so much text I could be missing something. The fact that you need to untap with this card to get value means this probably isn't gonna see play in any Eternal format. And I don't think this, I think this might see play in Standard, but like, what are you targeting your own creatures with? I'm just not excited about this. This with the Learn card, like with this card, could be interesting, but I remain skeptical here. I don't think this card is going to be relevant. Sweet design, though. Okay, so when it comes into play, you may search for a basic planes or ability, put it into your hand. This is interesting. It's a very cute owl. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I agree, King. I mean, this just basically makes gives attacks to one of your cards your opponent has in hand already, which is a good effect that we haven't seen before. So this card is interesting. I think Magic is kind of not. So I think this card, like 10 years ago, would be really, really strong. Because this is the kind of slow grind that used to be super good. It's much worse now, in my opinion, but this that searches for a plains card. So you can get triumphs and cycle them. And this is still like Borderland Ranger, which is pretty nice. And a relevant body, which is pretty nice. And having 6 just return it to your hand in the late game. Oh, it's a basic plains? Never mind. Then this is probably not good enough. Yeah, no triumphs. Yeah, my bad. I thought this was plains card. Yeah, so this is probably not good enough. But this is a cool design. I think if a deck wants this kind of effect, it's nice to have in Standard. Definitely not. Maybe this is Pioneer playable too. But it's just worse than, what's it called? Than the Saga there. The Saga that searches for a plains, basic plains, and then puts an 0-4. So I don't think that's going to be relevant. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of weird that this card like doesn't look for like a plains card, and it looks for a basic plains card, but that's fine. I mean, it's a common. It's fine that this is not super strong. When it ends the battlefield turn, go back to your hand. Not relevant. We talked about this before. We talked about this. This is not a good card. Even if it finds plains, yeah. A blue deck tutor for fixing? Yeah, I mean, I think if this was any planes, I think this card becomes pretty strong, especially for Standard. So I agree. Semester's End, I think, is pretty good. We've seen that Yorion letting you exile any number of targets is pretty strong. And then getting to have everything come back with additional counters basically makes this into an anthem of sorts. It doesn't work with tokens, which is super relevant when we were talking about the white decks potentially playing something like the Professor of Symbology into the sorceries that put tokens. But I think this is still a very interesting card. It kind of reminds me of the 3-mana instant that gave +1/+1 to all of gave indestructible to all of the creatures, and if it was your main phase, it also gave them +1/+1 counters. So this is, I think, interesting. Could see play in like sideboards at least, maybe even main decks. So Semester's End is a card I'm gonna put down here. I think it mostly depends on how the white decks end up looking, and I kind of suspect that Showdown of the Skulls is gonna relegate this to not being relevant. But if you're playing mono white, then this could be a nice card. Show of Confidence. So this basically has Magecraft Storm, and you pump a creature for each copy. I don't think that's gonna be good enough. Yeah, I don't think there's gonna see play. We talked about Sparring Regimen before. This is interesting because you have Conclave Master in the set, and this could actually spawn. Okay, so Star Pupil I think is relevant because Star Pupil because of scales in Pioneer. That's basically the only reason I think this might be relevant. But this could give enough, like, of this effect for green-white scales in Pioneer that the deck becomes relevant again. A ghost where you're... Yeah. Maybe you're right, Otter. Maybe Semester's End, I'm too high on this. But Eerie Interlude... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm too high on this. This looks threatening, though. Pumping all of our creatures and walkers and protecting them from removal spells seems super strong. Yeah. I agree. But again, if you look at this as like a combination between protection spell and pump effect, maybe it's good enough. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think this has potential. Like, I don't want to spend 7 hours going over the set, so I am kind of trying to go a bit faster than I usually would. Just pointing out like interesting cards and my thoughts about them. So whenever more cards are put into exile, put a +1/+1 card. Only once each turn, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, probably not good enough. This kind of reminds me of Flourishing Fox. So I am looking at this, but it's probably not good enough. Not a constructed card. This card, on the other hand, is very good. Proctor? What's Proctor? What does Proctor mean? So this card is a spirit with flying for 2 mana. Good in Pioneer. And stops tons of triggered abilities. Very good. Oh, okay. That's good to know. I think this is a sideboard card in Standard and a main deck card in Spirits in Pioneer in certain meta games. I'm gonna let Traft figure this one out, but this is definitely one of the best white cards in the set. Yeah, relevant creature types, flying is good. You're so fucking high on this, yeah. And stopping all triggered abilities, also stopping your triggered abilities is really nice. Like, playing this into Lotus Field is just ramp, right? So that's like a nice effect. This card is really interesting. Definitely gonna see some sort of play in sideboard or main decks. And this card is not relevant. So that was white. White actually got a bunch of good creatures. That's basically what white got, right? Yeah, other than Semester's End, which we're not even sure is gonna be relevant, all of these are good creatures. I think white got some nice cards this set. Okay, talked about this is not relevant. I think this card is too expensive despite being pretty cool. But drawing a card for each spell you play, Wolf Strong is not good enough on a 2/2/4/4, I think. Or Rabe, or just hardcast both, right? I mean, also you can just go like vial this in and then play Kroxa on the same turn, right? Because on turn 3, it is a lot of colors, but Modern can support that, right? Technically. And who was that? Musasabi is already playing Mardu Stoneblade, so maybe it goes in there. Combo with Stoneblade. Mardu Proctor Kroxa, let's go. I mean, you could also do this before with Hushbringer, so I don't think that's good enough for Modern or Pioneer, but it's still a cool interaction. I think Lotus Field is the bigger... I think Lotus Field is the bigger beneficiary of this. So, okay. I think this is too expensive to be relevant. No. Can't even put any of them to your yard. So, this is interesting because it's an instant. I think it's probably just worse than Omen of the Sea. But better than, there was a card in Zendikar that did something similar. Oh, that's true, Porkop. That's a really good point. And yeah, right, the card itself is certainly better than Hushbringer. This is a nice card. I'm not convinced this is gonna do anything. Even though filling your yard is nice, I'm just not buying it by now. People are like pretty high on this. Maybe in Pioneer. I can say this. Yeah. Phoenix in Pioneer might say this. Yeah. That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, this could see play in Phoenix in Pioneer. So like Q-rate for specifically Phoenix in Pioneer. I don't hate this. I actually think so. I was thinking a while ago that what was it? Deliberate. That like Deliberate is a pretty strong card that we're not playing enough. And then figured that like it's probably missing something, and maybe the put into the yard thing is that something. So I don't hate Curate. We talked about Divide by Zero before. We talked about this. This is just a Frostlink with flying, which is good. It's a wizard, so maybe there's some kind of blue-red deck in Pioneer that wants this, but probably just not. This card is weird. So if you pay 3, you draw 3 cards, but opponent gets 2 treasures and scries 2. I don't think that's good enough. And then you have like a Brain Gazer effect where you can just pay 3 and X to draw X cards. Too expensive in my opinion. I don't think anyone wants this. The downside of giving your opponent treasure tokens is super high. And scry 2, that's like, oh my god. Yeah, I don't think this card is gonna see any kind of play. Could be very wrong with this, but the downside seemed way too high. I guess this could see play in Lotusfield in Pioneer, where we just want 3 mana, draw 3. Still skeptical though. Yeah, probably commander card, I agree. Untap another target permanent. Tap target permanent. No. When you cast this, copy it if you control a Planeswalker, Cleric, Druid, Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard. That's kind of weird. Yeah, Rabe, it's gonna be in 8 days. In 9 days. This is on MTGO. Yep, it's super early. I don't know how we got this so fast, but... Anyways, mentor guidance. I mean, so if this actually works, you get Read the Bones, but no life loss? Yep, I agree, Rabe. It's super weird. Super early. I don't think, like, maybe you want to play this in Standard, but I think in Standard you probably just want to play one with, of one mind instead of this. You're not complaining. I mean, I'm kind of complaining. I think we just have spoilers all the time now, and I don't enjoy that as much as I used to, but sure. I mean, I think Of One Mind is just better in Standard, and Reader Bones doesn't see play in Pioneer, so that's not good enough. We talked about this card. Okay, this card is really cool. I'll give you a second to read this. Excuse me for a second, chat. I'm waiting for my landlord to come pick up some payments. So, okay. More cool cards. Yeah, more cool cards is better, but I just saw this and I got excited. Just a second. More cool cards is better, but there's also merit to having some time to actually like process the cards and the formats. I mean, we're doing this, and then this weekend has a bunch of big tournaments that don't include this set. So, yeah. This card is super interesting in my opinion. So for 2 mana, this is just Sky 1 draw card, bad opt, not great, but fills the curve. For 3 mana, this bounces a creature, but that the player chooses. Also, this hits Hexproof, which is interesting, which I actually like a lot. In Pioneer, hitting Hexproof is super nice. So that's a good one. For 4 mana, this is just a 4/4, and for 5 mana, You do everything? Oh, wait, you choose a creature. Oh, never mind. Then the X2, then the 3 mana effect is pretty good. Okay. Yeah. I actually really like this card. I don't know if it's gonna actually see play, but the abilities are pretty strong here. It's like super versatile. And for 5 mana, getting a 4/4 that draws a card and bounces a creature, it's a bit underwhelming, but still, I think this still might see some play, because so I'm thinking about decks like Phoenix in Pioneer again, where just having something to fill the curve, and then a 5 mana creature that's like a threat but also a sorcery is nice. Yeah, I know it's a sorcery. If this was an instant, this is much better. I don't know. I really want this to see play. I'm gonna say this is gonna see some play, but it's on the lower like bracket of this is gonna see play. The goddess is sorcery, yeah. But this is like this is so cool. I just like it. We talked about this. Okay, reject. Creature or planeswalker. I don't hate this at all. And also exiling is really relevant. So I think reject can see play. I am in some regards Essence Scatter is better because the guaranteed countering is super nice. But exiling is important and hitting walkers is also important. I'm gonna put this on the gonna see play column. It depends on how relevant walkers are for this set. I think this card would have been insane in War of the Spark standard, where hitting walkers and creatures was amazing. Right now, kinda iffy, but still a good card. I think Resculpt is like it's another one of these effects where like it's Pongify. You get to have a removal spell in blue, but they get a 4/4, like they get a creature, and I think 4/4 is significant enough that this is not gonna see play. Serpentine Cure is not relevant. Tap 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap. Draw 2 cards and discard a card. That's not a good card. So this solve the equation. I've seen talk about this seeing play in combo decks. I'm gonna believe the combo people that this is good. I don't know. In standard, it feels like a worse Saloon Divisions, but I'm gonna put this as gonna see play somewhere. Because I believe the combo people that say that this card is good for like legacy modern combo decks that really want the tutor effect. It's not a relevant card. So this is kind of like Delver, but target you control has base power 2, but it's not a 3/2. This card is really hard to evaluate. The fact that it doesn't scale. You mean you're talking about solve the equation? I don't really understand either, but I've seen people talk about this. So I'm gonna call right now that this could see play in some combo deck, but I'm not a combo person. I don't really know if this actually sees play. Symmetry Sage is interesting. I don't know how to evaluate this. I think my verdict is people are gonna try and play this and it's not gonna work. Again, because having to play, especially in blue, having to play the instant or sorcery on your turn to get this to attack makes this significantly worse than Delver, which is what people are gonna see on this card. So I don't think this is gonna be a good card. We talked about this. So Tempted by the Auric is also a card I like a lot. This is clearly designed to be a multiplayer card, but that doesn't matter because this really reminds me of Entrancing Melody and Threads of Disloyalty. And both of these cards saw sideboard play and even main deck play. I think if the format has enough creatures that blue wants to take, like this, for starters, is an answer to like Lovestruck Beast. So I think Tempted by the Auric can see play. I'm not saying it's gonna be insane, but this is an interesting sideboard card. So tempted by the auric. Into a sorcery spell. Okay, Test of Talents is also super interesting because I think of this as a pretty good sideboard card for some specific metagames. Imagine hitting Ultimatum with this. Sultai Ultimatum with this. Or, in Modern, using this to hit... Wait, does this exile the card you actually counter? No, it doesn't exile the card you counter, which is really bad because this doesn't hit Passing Flames, for example. Yeah, Rabe, I agree. Again, I just don't want to dwell on this because I just really don't know how to evaluate this. This is not the kind of card I usually play. So I'm gonna let like people who do that figure it out. I don't know about Test of Talents. It's like an interesting sideboard card, but only hitting instants or sorceries is... It's not strictly better negate, yeah, because it's not non-creature, yeah. But I think this could see play in sideboards in a lot of formats, so I'm gonna put this Test of Talents. Vortex Runner, not relevant, but obnoxious in limited, and irrelevant. Okay, so that was blue. Blue got a bunch of nice cards, but I actually think the blue cards are significantly worse than the white cards. There's literally nothing I'm actually excited about here. Maybe Reject. Maybe Multiple Choice ends up being good. But yeah, blue kind of got the short end of the stick here, which is fine. Blue is really good in most formats, always. So, I'm gonna hop off for a second and I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Okay, we're back. Cranial Counterspell. I think Porkop, I think it's a sideboard card. That's what I think. That sometimes you want this versus very specific decks like Storm, where you can just like snag all their Gifts Ungiven or something. And that could be good. Is the metagame gonna be right for it? I don't know. So this is... I mean, nah, this is not a good enough card. It had the potential to do some stuff, but that's not really good. Yeah, Porkop, I think, again, it's very specific, but the effect is strong enough that it might see play. And again, it needs a very specific metagame. Where, like, I think this is for standard. I think this is better than Dispute if you want to hit specifically Sultai Ultimatum, right? But that's not how the metagame looks like. So I don't know if that's actually going to see play. It's a good tool to have in mind. Okay. So Baleful Mastery is a super sweet design. So this is 4 mana, exile target creature and planeswalker for instant, which is highly playable by itself. And then you can pay 2 mana instead of playing 4 to let your opponent draw a card and still get this effect. I think this card is very good. I think it's definitely going to see standard play. And Baleful Mastery. And I really like the design. Yeah. Also, maybe Pioneer, by the way. I think this maybe can go into Pioneer. Because this being 1 black and 3 means it fights, it like competes with Extinction. Not Extinction Event. Extinction something in Vasquez Contempt. So, yep, I like this card a lot. Fortune that comes in play tapped, return it to your hand only if you gain life. These cards usually look nice, but end up not playing out very well. Callous Blood Mage I talked about before. I think this is a really nice tool for Standard. I think this is a really nice tool for Pioneer Vampires. Nothing insane. You probably play like 1 or 2 of those in your deck. But even then, it's not exciting. Like, I'm gonna try it out. E2 Extinction, thank you. I'm gonna try it out. Having Graveyard Hate, like random Graveyard Hate is nice. Also, worth noting, you can exile your own yard, which in Standard is super good versus Rogues. So if there's a black deck that wants to play this, it just gets a free card versus Rogues, so that's nice. And at worst, this getting to Cantrip is a really good baseline. Okay, I'm gonna be back in a minute, chat. I said it, my landlord is here, so back in a minute. This is now a chair stream. Anyway, as I said, my landlord's coming here in a second to collect something, and then I'll be fully on this stream. So I think this card is good. I think it's gonna see play. Okay, I'm not muted. That's good. I think it's gonna see play. I don't think it's anything special because it costs 3. So getting a cantrip creature is not as good as in 2 mana, but still a fine card. I don't think that's a good card. 2+1+1s and oh, this is a sorcery. That's probably not good enough then. We talked about I Wish. What does this card do? X is 7 minus the number of cards in that creature's controller's hand. So if they have 7 cards, then this is doing nothing. If they have 0 cards, this is -7/-7, right? Okay. This is really interesting. I mean, if you can reliably get this to give -3/-3, it's a good card. And if it's -4, so for -3/-3, they would have to have 4 cards in hand, right? For -4/-4, they have to have 3 cards in hand. And it's an instant. I kind of like it. Because usually when you want to kill a creature, it's already versus a deck that has like lower curve and tries to play to the board. So this is really nice. I kind of like this. Yeah, I kind of like this. I think this could see play. Flunk? I assure you no one fails my course more than once. Nice. Yeah, I really like this design. It's pretty sweet. I think this can certainly see play. I mean, so in standard, it's kind of bad versus rogues, right? When they have, when they are playing card draw and stuff. Would Shadow play this is a good question. A big upside of this is killing, I guess, Heliod if it's a creature. But I don't think Heliod is gonna actually play this. Especially now that Heliod is splashing green. So you just get to play Abrupt Decay or Trophy if you want. And Terminate because modern, right? Yeah, and Dismember. Yeah, Dismember is the biggest point. Agreed. But I think this is super interesting for Pioneer. I think this is super interesting for Pioneer because in Pioneer you usually have to look for like different removal spells for 2 mana in black. I would love to play this versus a lot of decks. And in standard, I think this could see play as well. Go blank. This is a good question. Yeah. I think the discussion is good. Like, just bringing up interesting points and discussing them is the best way to learn about Magic, other than playing, I guess. So if you have a thought or you have a suggestion, even if you think it's like stupid, just bring it up. We can talk about it. Worst case, we just say it's not gonna work. I don't think it matters, and we go on. Go blank is interesting because this is a relevant ability on a Mind Rot effect. I don't really think it's gonna be super good. I mean, it's standard only, I think. Yeah, I don't really see how this is relevant. Maybe, nah. I mean, if Rakdos, you know what? I'm gonna put this on the list because I think if Rakdos midrange are a thing, like if Croxa mirror matchups are a thing, this is really good. This is really good for Croxa. But I don't know. That's Orson Ashiok. Yeah. I don't think it's a modern card. I think it's a standard card at best. Maybe Pioneer. Again, if Croxa mirror matches are prevalent, then this card is pretty good. Otherwise, I just don't see it. Lush of Malice. I mean, 1 mana for -2 to a creature is pretty strong. But you don't get to eat it in combat. We already had this effect before, right? We had this effect. Yeah, Rabe. Well played, Rabe. Well played. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's a +2 -2. I know. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna see play. Yeah, I don't think this card is relevant. I think in standard it's not good enough, and then in every other format you have push. Black, I mean, I think Go Blank is exactly good when you're playing versus a Croxa deck. Bolander. But I think this could also be relevant in 2 formats, so I'm gonna put this on the list. Doesn't matter. Anban Uro, so Go Blank and Shine, yeah. Talked about this. Not gonna matter. Auric Lore Mage is interesting. But like, what deck wants this as a pump spell? King. So Shadow is a good reply for this, right? If you just want something that doubles as a removal spell and a pump spell, maybe Shadow wants this, but I don't really think. Maybe in Pioneer in the Scourge deck, but I'm not buying it right now. I'm willing to be wrong on this, but I'm not buying right now. Yeah. Auric Lore Mage, I think, is a bit too expensive, even if the effect is pretty good. Oh, this is not what I thought it was. Never mind. I don't think this card is very good. Plumb the Forbidden. You may sacrifice 1 or more creatures, and you copy it for each creature sacrificed this way. Huh. This is interesting. Okay, just a second. Okay, we're done with this. Yep, I agree, Bolander. Not killing 1-2 prowess creatures is really bad. Okay, Plum the Forbidden is interesting. Being an instant is nice. And just having the base of drawing a card, losing life is not the worst. I don't think this is gonna see play though. I talked about Poet's Quill before, but I'll mention it again. I like this card a lot. Professor Onyx, I don't think it's gonna be good enough. But I think in some standard formats you want a 6 mana heavy hitting walker, and this could be it. But even for a 6 mana walker, this is a bit underwhelming. I mean, I'm comparing this to 6 mana Vraska, 6 mana Garruk, 6 mana Liliana of the Dreadhorde, and this doesn't compare very well. Yeah, that's true, King. That's true. But I just don't think these decks usually end up playing this effect because... So the sacrifice decks usually end up getting a bunch of creatures so they can get ahead on board and not just draw a bunch of cards. Right? Like you need your sacrifice effects to actually get you ahead on board to an extent. Oh yeah, the art is great. Yeah, like I can see this being played as a sideboard card, maybe? Yeah, exactly. Like as a sideboard card to refill in late games. But I think most of the time when you're playing a sacrifice deck, these cards tend to underperform because you don't want to sacrifice your board to get more cards. You want to sacrifice your board to get a tangible advantage on the board as like tempo or damage or something like that. And this just doesn't do it. You know, I don't know. We're not gonna put this right now, but this I could be very wrong on this. Could a counter or indestructible? Yeah, that's not good enough. When it dies, you draw a card if you had a counter. Not good enough. This card is super sweet. Okay, yeah. So okay, you know what? I'm gonna take this back. I think if Sedgemoor Witch is seeing play, then this is seeing play with it. Right? Because this actually has Magecraft for put a pest into play. So you know what? I'm gonna put these two together. I think these could see play together. Yeah, I love the design on this. A 3/2 menace with ward pay 3 life is really interesting design. So let's go like Sedgemoor Witch and Plum the Forbidden. I think right now this is probably just worse than a War Strider, but in general this could see play, especially after rotation. It's just a chunkier, more expensive young Pyro. Yeah. Not relevant. Put a plus on some kind of target creature. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Okay, I actually really like Umbral Duke. So instant speed Verdict is nice. And just getting to get a token randomly when they don't have a good target makes this card a really nice sideboard card for control matchups. From time to time, like I've been playing... Yeah, sucks that you can play it in the Lurus decks. I think at this point they're making all of these cards cost 3 or more just because of Lurus. Trying Witch in some shit with Croxa, Stitchers, and the 4/4. With Pyro? What 4/4 with Pyro? In the Rally Return deck? Oh, that's interesting. Maybe the Rally Return deck can play that. Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I see. Okay. I think Umbra Juk is actually secretly a really good sideboard card. Sometimes you want the Edict effect, and then you want it versus control decks a lot, and getting instant speed flying creature is super nice in some spots. So I think this card can see sideboard play, basically. Yeah, I mean, this card's not bad. It's not very good either. These effects tend to be much worse than they look. This is basically a reverse Foulmire Knight. But no, yeah, so this is probably not good enough. Although, you get to sacrifice this and then draw a card. But I think 3 mana for drawing a card after you sacrifice this is too much. So I don't think Unwilling Ingredient is gonna see play, despite the amazing flavor and the super cool design. Bottom to this, if my band started fucking, oh my god, King, are you good? Are you okay? Yo, Geeky with the raid, welcome everyone. We are looking at Strixhaven cards. We're like an hour and 20 minutes into this. This set has a lot of text. But this is also going on YouTube later, because we're recording this right now, and we also have like this file with a bunch of cards that we think are gonna see play in some form, which is super cool. And yeah, thank you for the raid again. How'd your stream go? I watched a bit when I woke up, but I was super groggy. I was like all like this, so I wasn't participating. So welcome raiders. Thank you so much for the raid, Kiki. Hope you had a good stream. How many lessons? We have 20 lessons and 20 learn cards, or like 21 and 20 or something like that. Shout out verdicts. But we did talk about the lessons extensively before. So if you want to hear what my thought about that, you can check out the YouTube video later. But also, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to repeat my thoughts about this a bit later after we finish going over the colors. After all the cards. So, let's go ahead. We talked about this learn card. When this attacks, you may put an instant from your graveyard on the bottom, and if you do, you exile the top cards of your library, you may play those cards. Oh, this is 5 mana, never mind. I thought this was 2 mana for some reason. This is not a relevant card. Yeah, I know. Everyone's gonna have it, but I figured we are gonna do this. We're gonna try and have some good times. And if we're doing this, might as well record for YouTube, but yeah. So, okay, now this is the first interesting card. When this attacks, you may pay 1 and discard a card if you do draw a card. And then whenever you discard 1 or more non-land cards, you may exile them and you may cast them this turn. I like this one a lot. Yeah, yours is really sick. Again, I think maybe this is more of a pioneer card. But, like, I want to play this with cheap spells. But even with 1-drops, this is really nice. This is close enough to, like, Robber of the Rich and Magmatic Channeler that I think this is really interesting. Yeah, I don't think this card is any good. Spoilers. I think this card kind of sucks. So, I like this card a lot. I think this might see play, depending on how... Conspiracy Theo. Like, this is one of these cards that is good for aggressive red decks. Imagine if you attack with this, discard a removal spell and play it to protect this from blockers. That's really nice. Yeah, also hitting, well, 1 or more non-land cards. Is there anything to do about that? Also, this kind of protects you from discard spells. Not exactly, I guess. Yeah. I think, so these cards usually end up being underwhelming. I think for Lurus, Magmatic Channeler is almost strictly better than this. But this card is really interesting. I like it. I think this could see play. I don't think this card is good. It doesn't scale up nearly well enough. So, I'm not buying this yet. Okay, I love Draconic Intervention. I think this card is gonna see play, at least in Standard. Because we are going to talk about the blue-red Dragon's deck that I think is going to be really good. Oh yeah, in Limited, this card is super sick, and I completely agree, King. If this was red, XX, then this would be much better, because it would scale up much better. But right now, I don't think this is going to cut it. I like Intervention a lot. I think we're going to get to the red-blue cards later, so I'm going to go back to this card, but I love it. So, remind me about this card later. Draconic Approach. There's 3 damage to each opponent. You may exile and 4 cards from your graveyard. Okay, that's not going to be a relevant card. Double Strike. When it deals combat damage to a player, You may cast an instant sorcery without paying its mana cost. Okay, I saw some people pretty high on this card. I don't think it's playable. I mean, it's a 1/4 double strike. You probably need pump spells for this to get through. And even if it gets through, you're playing pump spells, and then what? If it's red and has text, go to the next card. Yeah, that's a good point. We talked about this learn card. This costs 8 mana, so that's not relevant. I don't think gamble effects are good enough in standards, and I don't think this is doing anything in Pioneer. I'm gonna say this is not gonna see play. If it sees play, it's in some kind of combo deck. Learn card, we talked about it. Whenever one or more card leaves your graveyard, 4 mana, it's not relevant. Greening Ignus is gonna do some nonsense in Pioneer and Standard, maybe. I mean, this is a combo with Bergi. This is infinite mana with Bergi, I think, right? Is it infinite mana? It is, right? Infinite colorless mana with Bergi, I think. Because if you have Bergi in play, let's say you play this. Oh no, it just breaks even, right? Empty the warrant and we have to speed limited, yeah. Like if I have Bergi in play, if I have Bergi and this in play, I pay 1, return this to hand, get 3 mana, cast this, get 1. No, this is just infinite storm. Okay, only infinite ETB and storm. Okay. I don't think Ignus is gonna do anything. Neither is this card, by the way. Okay. This doesn't hit players. Are you kidding me? Why doesn't this hit players? Yeah, I just think it's too vulnerable. Like, the combo is broken by everything, any removal spell, and then even your pump gets broken by any removal spell, so I don't know. What do we say about not making busted cards? You mean that this hitting players would be busted? Maybe. Maybe. You can't have anything good because it might be too good. Yeah. I mean, this is still a really cool card. I still think this is gonna see play. Heated. I mean, okay. So actually, okay, I think this can see play if 1 or 2 things happen. Hitting planeswalkers is relevant, or can't be countered is relevant. Because otherwise, Demon Bolt is strictly better. Yeah, Bolander, I know. It's kind of sad, though. But this could be a good sideboard card. Hitting both creatures and walkers is really nice. Not hitting Lovestruck sucks. Just make burn better. Talked about this card. 5 mana is too much. If this was 3 mana, this could be constructed playable. This is interesting. Is there a good token we can target in Standard? Is there a reason to cast this on tokens other than Shark Typhoon tokens? Instant Bolt will be bad. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I'm looking. So, Tero, you weren't here for when we talked about this, but I'm looking mostly at constructed and not limited. Terror, by the way. Terror, yeah. And, yeah. Yeah, but, like, what are insane tokens in Standard? I don't think. It's, like, it's really interesting. For 1 mana, this is really strong. Oh, yeah, Claim is just better. You're right. Constructed will be. No, I don't think that's true, Terror. For what it's worth, I think both Pioneer and Standard right now can still see innovation. And that is 2 months after we got the last set. So I still think that Constructed is not solved nearly as fast as people think it is. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be relevant. 5 damage, that's not going to be relevant. Only as a sorcery kind of kills this card. I was high on this card until I realized you can only return 1 at a time. Don't like this. This can be broken. I'm gonna put this on the list. Because anything that says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, create mana artifacts, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Bolander, I agree. And which is kind of sad. I mean, I wish I had more incentives to brew in Pioneer. Just doesn't feel like I have them. So, Terror, that's not actually true. Standard still exists. I mean, there was a PTQ 2 weeks ago on Magic Online, not on Arena. And there's Showcase this weekend. So I'm actually playing a lot of Standard recently, and I think Standard is amazing right now. I think Standard is amazing right now, and I wish we could play it even more. Yeah, so Rabe, I agree. I think this can see play in like maybe Vintage, or maybe in Legacy, where you can maybe cheat this into play. But I'm not ruling out any card that has this line of text. Like this is interesting. Not relevant. Not relevant. Cool limited card though. Not relevant. Okay. So back in a second, we're gonna look at green. Legacy bonus round deck. Yeah. Alright. So I actually got me a couple of chocolates. A couple of chocolate bars because apparently talking is much more difficult than playing Magic. I don't think that's true, Terror, actually. I mean, you do have to change some decks, but I think Standard has. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this later. I don't wanna derail too much from the set review. I don't think this card is doing anything. We talked about this card. This card is not good. Hear me out on this one. This doesn't do anything. Big play. Gains reach, put a +1. Oh, so this is +3 in reach. That's super nice for limited. Okay, first of all, this is called Bookworm. I love this. Trample? Huh. Okay. Oh, this is 8 mana. This was close enough to Palaka Worm that I would be interested. 8 mana is too much, though. Too much. Not a card. Talked about this. I thought I was going to show a Planeswalker. So this is probably just worse than... Yeah, the instant version. Okay. Is this Ekaros? I mean, it doesn't really do anything from the yard except for going back to your deck. But this is like... This card is interesting. I wouldn't be super surprised if this ended up seeing some sort of play. But I think 8 mana is too much for this. Okay, Magecraft. I mostly think this is bad because it's green. I think it's bad because it's green, because otherwise this is a really good version of Prowess, obviously. There was a red-green Prowess deck running around in Modern, so maybe this could see play there. But otherwise, you just don't end up casting a lot of spells in green. So I just don't really see how this is any kind of play. Ecological appreciation I was a bit high on, and then I realized how it actually worked, and now I don't like it anymore. Emergent sequence, I don't know about this one. Emergent sequence is a fixer for colors. Okay, so this is basically Florahedron, right? But it also fixes for mana. For it can't be played as a land, but it fixes colors. What do you mean that can be broken worse than Coco? I don't think that's true because your opponent gets to choose two of those and shuffle them back. So I just don't think this is ever getting anything relevant. Also, being sorcery speed is really big. Like, it's 4 mana for 1/1, for 1 CMC cards. So I just don't really like this card. I think this is the kind of trap card that people think is very good and ends up playing very badly. Again, I could be wrong on this. It's just my opinion. Emergent sequence is, I think, gonna see some play, especially after Stomp cycles out of the format. So I'm gonna put that here. But I'm not high on this after thinking about this for a bit longer, because the creature just dying to Stomp is so bad. Yeah, Tor, I think this is much more of an EDH card than it is a constructed card. As cool as this is, I don't think this is gonna see play. We talked about Field Trip, but worth noting, I think this card is good. I don't think this card is good. We talked about this. So I think Honor Troll is interesting because you already have this effect in Standard, I think. Angel of Vitality, right? Is this in Standard? No, it's not in Standard anymore. Never mind. Then this probably isn't good enough. Okay, yeah, I don't like this. Green-White Soul Sisters, yeah. There is some cool life gain in Standard, but again, I just don't believe in those decks. I could be wrong. Again, I'm willing to be wrong on this, but not buying this right now. When you cast or copy, put a +1/+1. Oh, but this is 5 mana. Leyline Invocation. This is not a Leyline. We got scammed. With Veil of Summer. Yeah, yeah. No. Nope. Talked about this. Nope. 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 Maybe I heard people talking about this for Pauper, but I don't know if they were serious or not, so. No. No. This is nice. This is nice. This is basically Shredded Sails. Without the cycling. But killing Yorion. Heliod is still legal, yes. But I don't think... is Heliod legal in Standard? Wait. Am I crazy? I don't think it's legal in Standard, right? Oh, it is legal. Of course it is. It's Theros. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Heliod just needs tons of work to be good. And then it still gets kind of bad into the usual play patterns of Standard, where people kill a lot of the creatures. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I'm still not buying it because I think Heliod requires a lot more work than you would usually want to do. And on top of that, it's bad into the Standard play patterns of I actually want to kill your creatures. Unlike in Modern, where you can get punished for trying to kill creatures. So, I don't know about that one. I mean, it's interesting. It's a very good point that Heliod is still in this format. So maybe some kind of green-white deck is good. I mean, we talked about white getting Star Pupil for Conclave Mentor. So maybe that's a thing in Standard, but I don't know how it looks, so I'm not counting on it. This has a lot of text. No. This is not a good card. I don't think. So if I understand correctly, if you pay 6 mana, you look for 4 lands, put 2 of them into play, 2 into your hand. If you pay 4 mana, you look for 4 lands, put 2 into play, give 1 to your opponent, and put the last one into your hand. And that is just worse than circuitous routes or any other like migration path. Yeah, I know. I wasn't talking about Junk Heliod. So Junk Heliod, there's a lot of backwind tokens. Yeah, I think Absent decks usually end up being good picks for day one because you just end up playing a bunch of strong cards and good interaction and big creatures. If it's gonna last, that's a good question. I don't know. Again, it could be. It could be. Especially since Absent has a Triumph now. Okay, so we're off to the multicolored. How much more do we have? Multicolored is a bunch of cards. Not a lot, okay. Oh, and then we have the flip cards. Holy shit, that's a lot of cards in this set. We are basically like halfway through. We are a bit more than halfway through, which is pretty insane. Where's my... Okay, it's here. Alright, so, is there a way to view this? Okay, I think there is a way, actually. To view this as, like, yeah, like this. If I do it like this. Okay, so this is how we're gonna take a look at the multicolored cards, because this also gives me the double face cards. So, wait, let's go for this. Let's start with Red White. So we have a cycle of legendary dragons, right? When it attacks. So this card is interesting. Because you can cheat it into play with Luca in standard. What do you mean, King? Anyway, I think this card is interesting because you get to cheat it into play with Luca in standard. And that could be better than Coma in some instances. I don't know what cards are you casting with this. But we do have a cycle of cards we're gonna get to here that basically have the ability of, like, they're big instant and sorceries, and then you can pay 2 and discard them to create a treasure. So the price for playing them in your deck is lower, and it gives you targets for this. I don't know, it's I don't know, honestly. I don't think this is gonna see play, but I think it's really close. Oh, the Dragon Sweeper is a really good point. Yeah. It's not a cheap 5/5 for 5, right? It's not for 5, it's for 7. So that's not very good. Yeah, Opus is very good, I agree. Very cool, I agree. I don't think this card is good. Okay, we talked about this before. I love this card. So this is the flip side of this. And I think this is great because it's a 2-drop. Let's put this in. So I think this card is great because Flame Scroll, Celebrant. It's a pretty good 2-drop for aggressive decks. I mean, everything on this card is relevant. The pump is nice. The incidental damage is nice. And then the flip side is buying you an extra turn versus a sweeper or something along those lines. And just having this effect in your main deck can pretty much turn a game in your favor versus some like decks. Or if they play like Ultimatum, they just like play Ultimatum, we respond with this, and they did nothing. So I like this card a lot. Blade Historian is great in Winota. So also, why is this not named Bald Historian? I don't know. How is this a Boros card? Radiant Scroll Wielder. I think we talked about this before. This card is nice as a sideboard card. I'm not really buying it though. I don't think. I do think Venerable Warsinger is gonna see play. Mostly because you have both Alcid and Selfless Dog in the format, and it scales super well with pump spells. So, like, and you have Showdown of the Skulls to pump this at the very least. So instead they made all the spirits Boros? Yeah. It's kind of weird, I agree. Plarg, Dean of Chaos. Discard a card, draw a card. Good. Reveal cards, cast into the sorcery. I don't think that's true. What do you think of Plarg? That's an interesting one. I don't really know how to evaluate this. This one, I think it's gonna fall short at the end of the day. But this card is very interesting. Like, the front side is just good value creature. The back side lets you do some nonsense with, like, attacking creatures, vigilance, and the pump. Yeah, I think Spirit being white-red is really nice, actually. It gives them a different feel and can spawn some new decks. And, like, aren't you kind of tired? Oh, yeah, tap on tap. Yes, poor cop. That is something you can do with this. But ultimately, I think this is gonna fall short. Yes, Skyclave is great. Okay, Lorehold Command. Chat, I think Lorehold Command is good. I'm ready to get burned on this one, but I think this command is secretly pretty good in red-white mid-range decks, where this just does a lot of the things you want to do. It can give you an alpha with another 4-power creature and pumping your creatures. It can get you back, it can kill a creature and let you win their base. It can draw you cards in response to a mass removal spell. It can protect all of your creatures for a mass removal spell. And it's an instant. So I think this card is gonna see play. I think this card is actually pretty good. Lands are great. We talked about this one. I don't think this one is gonna be good enough. It draws a lot of cards, but it requires a lot of setup, and even then, it's pretty expensive. This is not a good card, I don't think. Neither is this. Rip Apart is great. It's definitely gonna see play. The versatility is awesome. Although being sorcery definitely hurts this, but hitting all of these things, I think this card is definitely gonna see play. This card unfortunately doesn't scale, so I don't think it's good. It's very good. This card is pretty interesting, actually. No, it's not, but nah, it's not good enough, I don't think. No. Thrilling Discovery is good for Modern Dredge, basically. And that's it. So I'm gonna put this Thrilling Discovery Modern Dredge on the list, but again, it's very, very specific. Dredge, in what way? Is Altori Outbest in Boros? Yeah, that's true, Scouter, that's true. Yeah, I remember we already had this effect, and I think this is the kind of effect that it's easy to overvalue, where in fact it doesn't pay that well. And the Mentor. Yep, I think that's basically it for Boros here. Yeah, Dredge definitely got a new toy, and it's a big one. Is it? Or Prismari? Okay. So, Galasef Prismari, I think, is very good because this plus Goldspan gives you 2 dragons in blue red that come into play and generate mana to protect themselves. Scouter, but threading the difference between discarding 2, drawing 3, and discarding 1, drawing 2 is enormous in Dredge. So I think that's why we didn't see that C play before. Prismari is really nice in that regard, right? And then I think this mechanic, I don't know how the hell it's called. We don't have a name for the mechanic, but like the discard created treasure is what makes this viable. I mean, it is closer to draw 34 than it is to draw 3. Let's be honest. So, Turo, I don't actually think... I guess you do play Sprite Dragon if you want to do that. We are gonna build this deck in both Pioneer and Standard Trader, but I am super high on this. And then Magna Opus. So, what these cards do, other than give you the treasure, is also feed your Dragon Mass Removal spell, which is pretty amazing, because it means you can easily wipe the board of everything on turn 3. Not easily, but you can do that, and that's really strong. Discard. So I'm gonna put in like, I'm gonna do our blue discard, make treasure. I don't think it really matters which card you actually play. Oh, that is also true. Gear Hulk, Dragons, Goldspan, Prismari. Yeah. Yeah, I like this a lot. God, stop. Oh, we're gonna build this. This is the first thing we're doing after finishing the review. This card has a lot of text, but basically, I don't think it's good enough, even though this text is super interesting. Oh my god, pork up. Sheesh. I don't think these cards do anything. Yeah, I don't think these cards do anything. Opus and Gear Hulk, nice. I'm interested in that. Prismari Command, I think, can definitely see play. It's just, it's versatile enough that it's gonna see play. I don't think it's anything amazing. It's just fine. I don't think this is good enough. This is not good enough. This is not good enough. Talked about this. Yeah. I think Prismari is far enough from K-Command to not be insane, but have enough utility in both the Dragon's deck and the Phoenix deck that it is gonna be good. Yeah, exactly. Like, this making treasures is actually pretty big, I think. Okay. Okay, doesn't matter. Yep, that's basically it for Is It. Okay, Simic time. Okay, I think Body of Research is extremely overrated. I don't think this card is gonna do anything. Do you agree, chat? Animate Library. I wish they had actually called this Animate Library. This card has a lot of text. Let me read it for a second. Damn. No, you used the bot wrong. There you go. Enchant your library. Perfect. That's great. And it has to sell boxes, yeah. This is not Discord, yeah. Okay, I don't think this is good enough. We had a similar card. Was it in War of the Spark? Right. So, which was like blue, green, mythic. Yeah, this one, which I think was better and didn't see play. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think this was better and didn't see play. So I'm not high on this one. Oh, wait. I think I screwed something up here. I thought... Oh, okay. I want to talk about this for a second. I thought this was a different card. This card is very overrated in my opinion. Yeah, that's also true, Terror. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong and that card is good, but I don't think it is. I think it's kind of like a worse Gearhulk. I think this card is insanely overrated. This is basically a worse Charter Course, in my opinion. So I just don't really see this seeing any play. Okay, we're back to Civic. My buddy had a kitchen table deck that goes to animate library and bling. That's great. That is great. So I think Augmenter Pugilist is a nice card. I think the fact that the flip side is not really doing anything good for a ramp deck kind of makes this medium. I don't think it's gonna see play before Lovestruck Beast and Kazandra Mammoth leave the format. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. I guess it probably gets old, but it's kind of hilarious too. So, I don't like this card. Manifestation Sage is not good enough, I don't think. It's worth noting that this enables of one mind by itself, by getting you a non-human token and a human, but 4 mana is just a bit too much. This card is not good either. Quandrix Command has bounce, annul, pump, and graveyard hate. I don't think the Quandrix Command is good. What is that? Terror, what do you... I don't get it, Terror. Okay, I actually think this card is great. Decisive Denial. Like, having removal spell or conditional negate in green-blue instant is exactly what decks like Simic Stompy want. This is everything they ever wanted. If it huffed targeted cards. Oh, you mean the Quandrix? Yeah. In a pack of playing cards. Okay. So, like, the person who picks it up loses? Is that the thing? This card is nice. Oh, this is basic. Never mind. This is not very good. We talked about this. 5 mana is not good enough. I don't think this is good enough, even if it's interesting. You need to work too hard to make this better than a divination. And for the 14th time, we have of one mind in the format. It's worth noting that we still have Jolrael in the format, right? Is it still in the format? Yeah, it's M21. So this should say, yeah, this is still standard legal. So like, all of these cantrip card draw cards can definitely go in a deck with this, but again, off one mind is better than this. And he picks up his own cards afterwards. That is nice. Oh yeah. Quandrix Apprentice is really good. And let me tell you why. It's really good because triggering for every instant is much better than triggering for enchantments, which is what we had in Theros. And you can easily use the extra cards in hand to discard to like Charter Course or something like that. So I think this card is really strong. I'm gonna put this as gonna see play. Maybe that's gonna happen after the rotation. Maybe it's gonna happen in like Pioneer or something. But I think this card has a really high upside and I really like it. Although not hitting spell like double face card lens is pretty bad. Joril. Yeah, I think Joril is just a bit too bad, but it's certainly interesting. Also, we do get better mana for Timur right now, so maybe you can play some kind of Alliance Joril deck. That's not a very good card, although having 2 bodies on 3 mana is nice. Square up, not good. Cool, but not good enough, I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong on this one. It's close enough to doing something super strong. But obviously at 3 mana it would be super good, and at 4 mana it's nah. No. Okay. Let's move on to, is this Orzhov? Yeah. Damn it, chat, it's much more difficult to talk for 2 hours than it is to play Magic. Oh my god. Yeah, Quandrix getting land is really nice, I agree. Oh yeah. Just a second, and we continue. Oh my god, okay. More Orzhov cards. We are almost done with this. This has been super difficult. Okay. I don't think this card is good enough. It could maybe be a sideboard card, but the fact that you have to give your opponent one of these, if you want one yourself, probably means this is an EDH card and that's it. Oh yeah, Black-White has a million removal spells, but Black always had all the removal spells. So I don't think it's anything new. Blot Out the Sky is super cool card. I think it had a potential to be good if it hit creatures as well. Like if this was a martial coup, but this isn't. So, and this is a sorcery too, so I don't think this card is good enough, unfortunately. But I love everything about the Inklings. They're great. And this card is really cool. Obviously an insane limited bomb. Maybe if there's like a black-white mid-range deck that plays a bunch of Planeswalkers and you want this for the mirror match, I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but I'm not buying it right now because it takes 8 mana to get the effect, so it's kinda tough. I think we talked about this card in a different stream, but basically, I think this card is not good. 3 mana for this effect is historically not good enough, and the flip side just doesn't go in the same deck. You don't have to max it out, but then you're just getting a bunch of tokens, and like for 5 mana you get 3 flyers. It's not a very good card, right? I mean, the versatility is definitely there, but I don't think it's good enough. I don't think the versatility makes up for that enough. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a super strong late game card. If you just have tons of mana lying around, this is gonna do a lot. The board wipe could also be good if your opponent's playing like Planeswalkers and enchantments and stuff. But this not catching you up versus creatures, because everything also comes into play tapped, then just makes this very, very narrow, I think. So, I think this card is just not very well designed. You really don't want any of these effects in the same deck, like both of these effects in the same deck, and both sides are overcosted, so I don't like this one. Vanishing Verse is great. So this is Orzhov. Vanishing Verse is great. Super versatile. I think it's gonna see a lot of play, at the very least in Pioneer and Modern. It's a black-white version of an old white card. I mean, you're talking about Martial Coup, right? It's not, it's worse than Martial Coup because, as I said, it doesn't kill creatures. In my opinion, it is. Not killing creatures is really bad. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about this card. Vanishing Verse, I think, is very versatile. It's gonna see a lot of play in Pioneer, at least, I think. I was very high on Dramatic Finale until I realized this is creature tokens, which makes this, I think, not good enough, unfortunately. I would love to be wrong because I think this card is very cool, but I don't think it's good enough. When this is only tokens, this is only non-tokens. You like this card? Yeah, I mean, I wish it's playable, but I don't think it is. Perfect EDH card, yeah. Okay, Silverquill Silencer is really good. So, basically, this is kind of a meddling mage or a freebooter where you play this and you name the removal spell. And when they try to kill this, you get the value back. Yeah, it's a human, which is huge, both in Modern, which this might see some play, but I think more so for Pioneer, where humans are looking for more good cards. And yeah, I just really like the card. I think it's really cool. You can do some really sweet plays with this. It's a good card. It's gonna see play. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly, King. Which is why I think this is better in Pioneer than in Modern. Because I think this is worse than Freebooter and Meddling Mage. And that's basically the same slot. And I guess like Marine something, like the changeling that makes everything cost more, targeting your things. So yeah, I think it's just worse than them, but it's a really cool card. I like it. Okay, I actually like Shale a lot as well. Shale and Ambrose. Because I think Ambrose is super versatile and does a lot. I mean, it can kill their 1/1s, it can draw you cards, it can pump your creatures. And Shale is just like 1/1 flying vigilance that pumps creatures you like get into play on that turn. Is a really nice effect. It's kind of like a Luminarch Aspirant to an extent. And you can get more value off of this. So I just really like this card. I think it could see play. Shale. I like all the black-white cards, basically. Like, I like their design, they're really cool. Except for this card. This card is bad. I don't know why these are the effects. I don't know why this is a sorcery. I just really hate how they designed this card. Like, if this was 3 or more, then we could talk, because this gets Lure Spec. But it doesn't even. So, I just don't see how this is good. Okay, this card I think actually has constructed potential. Probably not before rotation, but this is pushed. 3 mana 2/2 flyer that pumps itself. Not the worst, just so you know. Yeah, but then you could maybe justify playing this in some kind of like Oars of Lures deck. Yeah, theoretically, yeah, I know. Yeah, I just don't see it happening. Killian is interesting. I don't think the payoff is good enough to justify playing a pretty medium body, honestly. But it's a cool design. I just think that like priest, the vampire priest, the 2/1 lifelink menace for 2 with the kicker that returns creatures is just better than this. So I don't think it's gonna see play. Humiliate is, in my opinion, worse than Agonizing Remorse, so I don't think it's gonna see play either. Fracture is a nice card that's gonna see sideboard play. Black-white has so many removal spells. Yeah, I agree. Like, why? Exactly. I think Agonizing Remorse is strictly better than this. I don't think the pump is nearly relevant enough. This is doing some things. The Silverquill Apprentice, I think being black also is kind of like the green card where we said this would be insane in another color. Black white is not very good at prowess either. So I don't think this is gonna see play. No. We talked about this. Yeah, I think that's the main reason that this doesn't see play. Remorse. And Golgari cards. And then we do artifacts and lands. And then we can go and brew some decks and play Magic. Just a second. I got some messages, just making sure nothing weird is going on. Okay, yeah, we're good. Alright. Another big dragon that has big effects that I don't think are going to be relevant. Harness to Infinity. I don't know, probably a combo piece. I just don't know how, so I'm going to let someone figure this out. Maybe this is playing like Lotus Field in Pioneer, right? Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not sure it's necessary, but it's here. I don't think any of these cards are good enough. Like, this is draw 5, but you lose 3 life for each card. That's a lot. Rushed Rebirth is interesting. So, this card can be played in Modern to an extent. It puts it into play tapped. Does this matter? Golgari Dragon to slap you in the face? Yeah, poor cop. Absolutely. I don't think Rush Rebirth is really doing anything. I'll tell you what it does. No, that's not even true though. So, if you have Viscera and a Persist creature, you can target the Persist creature and then sack it, and then in response, and then like target the Persist creature, and then when it dies you get the Vizier and you get to combo off. This card, but did it exist really this way? I don't know, maybe it is bad. This is tutoring from your deck, this is really strong, but I don't think it's gonna say play, but it's close. Maybe there's a combo that someone figures out with this. This is really interesting. I think Culling Ritual could see play. Mostly in Pioneer, where I can see you like playing this versus Auras, and then just playing another threat following this. Yeah, I agree, King. I agree. I don't think it's broken. I think if you maybe there's a combo that actually breaks this, but until I see that, I don't believe it. I think Culling Ritual can definitely see play. This card is really nice. But you do need to utilize the mana, so I think this is less of a control card and more of a mid-range card. Yeah, that's also true, yeah. And if you can follow it up with a threat, like use the mana somehow, it's really nice. Yeah, I don't like it, babe. I don't think it's good enough. Because 4 mana is super expensive. Maybe in Standard, but like, is it actually better than any other 4-drop in Standard? Maybe it can see play in like the Ultimatum deck. I don't know, I could be wrong on that one. This is not good enough. Like, I just don't really see the reason to play this. I could be very wrong on this because this is a lot of stats, but I ain't buying it, chat. I love Pestilent Cauldron, so I mean, are there not We have Behold the Multiverse. We have, yeah, mostly Behold right now. I get it. I gather. So, is it actually better than Behold, I think is the question. I don't think so, really. This just dies to everything, right? I guess it doesn't die to everything. That's definitely an exaggeration. It's just that, like, these effects tend to be much weaker than they look. Ugh. Yeah, but we're looking at standard, I think. Yeah, I think it's mostly Heartless Act. Yeah, Brave. So, you know what? How is it called? How is that card called? I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna put this on the list under the Eureka moment. Under the guise of Sultimatum decks. I think that's the only place where this is better than Behold. Yeah, Bloodchasers is a good one. I don't know. Do you think this card is good? I'm not buying it, but yeah, Scapeshift is a good one too. Oh, yep, yeah. Okay, I get it. Yep. I mean, I think so. For what it's worth, I think if we're talking about the Golf Spiral, double Golf Spiral thing for a second, the Eureka moment, I think drawing 2 and putting a land into play is significantly better than Golf Spiral. Because drawing 2 means you're up a card, or at least break even and get the ramp. And it makes it much more likely for you to hit the land, which is pretty big. So yeah, I could be wrong. Yeah, I could be wrong. Okay, yeah, let's put the Demogorgon Titan. You know what? You sold me on this. I think this card could see play. Oh, I didn't talk about the Cauldron. How is this called? Demogorgon Titan. Okay, let me talk about this card for a second. So, front side, I think is a really good engine. Having an artifact that like discards a card with no mana cost to get battlefield presence is subtly strong, in my opinion. And the 1 tap is super weird, but the 4 tap is both Graveyard Hate and card draw, which is super nice. I guess the 1 tap also fuels this, so that's nice. And the flip side is really nice because it's just like 5 mana draw 2. And you gain the life, and you usually don't care about your opponent gaining the life with this, I think. So, I think this card could see play. I'm gonna brew with this a bit in standard because, again, post-rotation probably. But I think the effect is pretty strong. And, like, repeatable 0 mana created token effects are pretty strong. And this is the kind of card I like playing, so I'm gonna try it. I love Valentine as well. Valentine. I think Valentine can see play in Vampires in Pioneer, but mostly I think that Lisette is a pretty strong card because if you have incidental life gain, then putting a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control is a lot. Issue, can't trigger this on the turn it comes into play unless you have an extra mana. It is what it is. Obvious black fairly medical pest things. Yeah, I agree. The pest is like black green does have War Strider. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it just means that if you look at Ikoria and Eldraine, these sets are so pushed that they're making a lot of the cards in this set look kind of awkward. But new cards, always nice to have redundancy, and we have rotation coming up in a couple of months, so yeah, I like this card. I don't think it's insane or anything, but I think both halves could see play. Pretty excited for Valentine in Vampires, just because having a cheap Vampire is super nice. Yeah, this year's rotation is definitely hype, I agree. Because pumping this up is nice, and this is pseudo Kalitas. I'm gonna try it. We're gonna see if it works. Okay, the Witherbloom command. Let's look at this again. Oh, really? Oh, King. Yeah, you're in for a treat. Rotation is always amazing. Regardless of how many like sets you're losing or gaining or whatever, rotation is always an amazing period of time where everything changes. When the Fire Nation attacked. Yep, I just don't like this card. I don't see. I guess this could be a sideboard card for burn, but even then, it's like very meh. Yeah, I agree. Scouter put it absolutely correctly. I don't think this is good. Yep. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I think Mortality Spear is actually super nice. Because if you can gain life easily for 0 mana, say Pest and Woe Strider, this just being 2 mana destroy whatever is very nice for late game purposes. So I kind of like this card. I think it's gonna see some play. Even for 4 mana, this is not bad weight. So I like this. For standard. Just being clear here, for standard. Theo, you're a dinosaur, aren't you? If you're killing a legend. But I think this is more versatile than that. Because you can control when you trigger this to an extent. So I think this is a bit more resilient. Yeah, I mean, also, I think for standard, just 4 mana destroy anything could be good. I mean, it's probably gonna. It would have probably seen some play right now if it could hit both. Something that can hit both Henge, Dragon, and. I guess it doesn't hit Faces even. There's a better skill spell, it's black white. Yeah, I agree that the black white cards are better than this. Yeah. Huh, oh, that's a really good point, Witak. Yeah. Binding kind of makes this irrelevant. You know what? I'm gonna take this off the list. I forgot binding existed. Binding is so good. I don't really buy this 10 the bests, really. I don't think that's good enough. Dina is not good enough. I don't really think this is good enough. We talked about this one. I don't like this either. Yeah, if it's 2 mana consistently, it's a nuts, but it's not, so I don't think that's very good. Witherbloom Apprentice is interesting, but green-black is probably the worst color combination for this. I mean, it's obviously gonna see some play in Legacy where you play Chain of Smog and this just kills them. I don't know. Is there a way to trigger this in Standard? People happy. Does this actually make you happy though? I'm gonna put this as formats with good mana can play this with some burn spells. Yeah, I don't think this is good enough in standard. I agree. Until end of turn, target issues again depth. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good. These are irrelevant. This is not good. This is not good. Okay, we are done with the colored cards of this set. Let's go ahead and take a look at the artifacts and the lens. Oh, I guess, well, we talked about this. These are lessons. So, no, it's not. I'm mostly talking about, like, if you can play this in a 3-color deck, then I think it's better. Like, maybe, well, Jund Shadow doesn't really work, right? Because you're gaining life. That's not good. Yeah, I don't really know. But I don't consider Pioneer to be a format with good mana. No. No. I honestly don't know. Like, I don't think this is good, but it has so much text it might be good. Yeah, yeah. That's my instinct as well. No. No. Miller card. If this was 0 mana. No. This is nice. Actually, I think Letter of Acceptance is interesting. I mean, for EDH people to carry on. This is nice. This is basically like Mind Stone. Obviously, it's not 2 mana, but this is nice. I'm gonna put in a speculative Letter of Apprentice. Acceptance. I think this can see play in some kind of Yorion deck. Just because 3 mana ramp that just you can cash in the late game for a card is really nice. Instead associated targets, no. No. These cards always look nice and then they end up playing badly. What does this... Oh my god. What does this do again? Add 1, put a point counter. When a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter. When a creature could not do... Okay, no. Yeah, this is... I don't know. This is super weird. No. No, although interesting. Path 3 or less can be blocked this turn. Probably not good enough because we have Faceless Haven, but this is interesting. Oh, we got another one of these. Okay, Raptured thingy. Hall of Oracles. Huh. No. Yeah, but whatever. That's fine too, right? We don't really care about, like... We don't really care about these things. Biblioplex? Oh, wait, I missed it. Yeah. This is kind of interesting. But the fact that it only works with 0 or 7 is really bad. I don't really think this is gonna end up seeing play. The Opposite Day Library, yeah. It's basically shitty library, which is... Library is a really strong card. But would library be even that good in a format that doesn't have Moxen? Is the question, I think. Because giving up a land drop for the library... giving up a land drop for library is pretty difficult. Also, right now, we just have the castles, which are infinitely better than this. You think it would be broken in any form? I guess it is, you're right. Like in mono red and mono white. I don't know if mono white, but mono red. Yeah. I don't know. But like, does this see play in mono red or something like that? Maybe this is play in mono red if you in burn. Well, probably not though, right? There's just no sweet spot where this sees play, I don't think. I don't think it's good enough, but it's like, this is super interesting. The answer is yes, or relearn the game. Yeah, I forgot library actually adds mana. Yeah, this has potential. I don't think it's good enough, but it's definitely interesting. And that's it. That's the set. We already looked at... Oh, wait, there's this card. What is this card? Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery, you may pay 2... If you don't... Oh, they pay 2. If you don't, you copy that. Okay. That's a strong effect. And then the flip side is... Each player looks at the top 5 cards. Reveals a land card and or instant or sorcery, put them into their hand, and the rest on the bottom, and each player gains 3. I don't think it's good enough, but it's so weird. Oh, there are some cards here we didn't see yet. Okay, we're gonna go over this. Yeah, I think this card is bad. This is not a subset, though. This is just model double face cards. Okay, this card is not good, chat. Also, this card is not good. I'm gonna move on. Okay, I like Mila a lot, actually. Mila, Crafty Companion. You hate Luca? So I'll tell you why I like it. Yeah, Mila is nice because it has a nice effect. It has 2 nice effects, which are pretty nice. Nice effects are pretty nice, oh my god. It has 2 nice effects, so you can probably play like 1 or 2 of these for the front side. And then, just randomly having Luca, even if it's a bad walker, and Luca is a bad walker, just having randomly Luca on the flip side could mean this sees play. Just because sometimes you want, like in the late game in your white-red aggressive deck, you want to have an overcosted walker. That has some relevant abilities. So, I think this card is really well designed. Thanks, Arena. Yeah. I think this card is really well designed. It's not gonna break anything, it's just a cool card. Rowan's Color of Sparks, I think, is gonna see some play. Mainly for the other sides, though. Nah, it's okay, it's not that bad. So both sides of these have the same static of instant and sorceries cost 1 less. And then Rowan's abilities are pretty weird, in that it's like deals damage to opponents, and the emblem lets you copy instant or sorcery spells. So the front side is pretty good in control mirror matches. And then the flip side is pretty good versus creature decks, where it kind of protects itself, and then it can draw you cards, and then it can just put a bunch of creatures into play. So, a One of His Storm is interesting. I just think this card is versatile enough to maybe see play. Again, no side of this is super good, but each side has roles in different matchups, and I can see a blue-red deck wanting this. I like the design, I'm all in for this. And yeah, we've seen the rest of the cards. So, this is Strixhaven set review. It took us 2.5 hours. There's a lot of text on these cards. So for anyone watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Consider liking, subscribing, and following me here and on Twitter and on Twitch, and joining the Discord. All the links are going to be below. And for whoever is in the stream, let's go on to brewing.